Chapter 9. "This is why I don't do nothing for no one," JR growled as he stood fuming at the bottom of the stairs. After he had graciously let those two brats squat in his house, all he got for his pains was numerous trips to the grocery store, dirty looks from Melody, and all his stuff covered in crap. See if he'd do anything for anyone ever again. And the girls? No more. They were out. Out! They wouldn't spend one night here. After they were clean, he'd pack 'em up and drive 'em straight to the orphanage tonight. He'd drop 'em off at the Lost and Abandoned Children office. He'll dump 'em on the side of the road. 10 minutes of fantasizing how he'd get rid of the kids wasn't going to get his house clean, and he was sure Melody wouldn't do it. If he wanted his house to smell somewhat normal again, he'd have to do it himself. He stomped to the kitchen, dug around for some cleaning products at least 5 years old, filled a bucket with water, and got to work scrubbing. He was still cleaning when he heard Melody come down the stairs. I think I'll bring by some upholstery cleaner tomorrow morning." Melody stood by the entrance to the living room. "I don't think you'll be getting those stains out any more than you have." Jared thrust his scouring pad into the bucket of dirty water. It made his stomach churn to look at it. "Where are the brats?" "Upstairs." Melody smiled in the direction of the steps. "The baby fell asleep right away, but Zena, she was so cute. She was excited when I found one of your old shirts to wear. She really likes you, JR." "Lucky me." JR plopped on the dry side of the couch. "Fantastic." He didn't want to risk waking the baby lest she let off one of those bombs again. They'd have to stay till morning. "She insisted on praying for you before she went to sleep." Melody walked over to sit on the dry handrest. She said, "Please bless Mr. JR. Thank you for sending him to us. I'll take real good care of him." "She'll take care of me," JR said. "That's what she said." "She won't be taking care of me for much longer." JR crossed his arms. "I'm getting rid of them. Tomorrow, I'm dumping them at the Lost and Abandoned Children office." Melody stood straight. "JR, you can't do that." "Why not? It's where children with no parents go." "But don't you know what happens to unclaimed children there?" Melody clutched the collar of her shirt. "They'll ship them off to Indentured Workers Guild. They could be slaves in a matter of months." "Not my problem." JR leaned back on the couch. "They can work to pay their own way in society." "You can't mean it. It's not their fault that... Melody paused, her ears turning out. "Where did you find them anyway? Where are their parents?" "I found them in Jalou." JR ran his hands over his eyes as he remembered his first sight of them. The brave kid and a half-starved baby too weak to cry. They were sitting in the ruins. Their parents left them there. Melody knitted her eyebrows. "Ruins? What ruins?" "Jalou is a wasteland, Mel. It was flattened." "How did that happen? The store just got a shipment from Jalou last week." "The GFG Corporation were crawling around, but I didn't think they'd do that." JR crossed his arms. "And why would they? They just set up a branch there." "Besides the fact they're a multi-million-dollar company," Melody waved her hand. "But that's beside the point. It's not those girls' fault they got caught up in whatever happened to Jalou." "You don't know that." JR turned his mouth to a pout. "Whatever their deal is, they gotta go. They'll wreck my style." "JR!" Melody smacked his arm. "You're so selfish." "Selfish? What about you? If you're so keen on 'em, you take 'em." Melody opened her mouth, then shut it. She lowered her eyes. "Score one for JR. That's what I thought." He clicked his tongue. "I can't get rid of 'em fast enough. Those kids are such a nuisance." "You should reconsider, JR." "Why? So they can turn my life upside down? No thanks." JR. "Miss Melody?" a small voice said. JR and Melody swung around. Zena stood at the foot of the stairs. "You're supposed to be sleeping, kid." JR let his voice lower to a growl. "Being bad again." "Shut up, JR." Melody shoved him before standing up. "What are you doing out of bed, Zena?" "I'm thirsty." Zena gave her a smile. "Can I get a drink of water?" "Sure, sweetie. Wait there." Melody went to the kitchen. Zena walked over to JR. She was wearing a white shirt JR had overgrown, but it was so big on her the collar nearly exposed the front of her chest. Melody had tried to compensate for the size by tying the back in a knot. "Mr. JR?" She rested her elbows on his knees. "What's a nuisance?" "A what?" "A nuisance." Zena rested her head on his knees while rocking back and forth. "You said me and Kat were nuisance. What's that?" She tilted one of her ears and looked up with her big eyes. JR turned away to avoid getting sucked in. "It's nothing you need to worry about." "Is it bad?" JR inhaled a breath as Melody walked out of the kitchen with a glass in her hands. "Well, it's..." "It is bad, isn't it?" Zena's ears fell. "Are you going to get rid of us too?" It's nothing personal, kid, but... Xena let her hand slide off of JR's knees. It's okay. I understand. She turned to go to the stairs, dragging her feet as she went. Here's your water, Xena. Melody held it out to her. It's okay, Miss Melody. I'm not thirsty anymore. Xena climbed up the stairs without another word. Melody watched her go, then jerked her head around to glare at JR. What? JR held his hands up. Melody slammed the water into the coffee table. I took the liberty of mixing 2 bottles. They're in the fridge. I don't know if the baby's old enough to sleep through the night or not, so you can give her one if she wakes up. Diapers and wipes are upstairs in the room. Don't call me in the middle of the night. You can figure it out yourself. She swung around and marched to the door. What are you so mad about? Melody picked up a bag before storming to the door. You don't get to give me attitude about this, Melody. JR jumped up to follow her. I took them in. I did a good thing. And what do I get? Nothing but trouble all night long. Melody halted at the doorway. You, of all people, should understand what they've been through, their parents leaving them behind. Don't bring that up now. For once, JR, I thought you were thinking about someone else. Melody jabbed her finger in his chest. But no, you only think about yourself. And what about you? JR turned up his nose in triumph. I notice you don't have an answer for why you won't take them in since you're so perfect. I can't take them in, JR. Because of your oh-so-interesting life opening and closing a grocery store? Face it, you don't want to take him in because it'll ruin your life. Dad's dying, JR, Melody blurted. JR froze. What? He's been sick for a long time. He acts fine for you, but I can't take care of him and the store and 2 young girls at the same time. Believe me, if I could, I'd take them in a minute because you don't deserve them. JR stared at her. I don't know what I expected. Melody swung around, her hair whipping through the air. Bring them by before you leave. I have their clothes with me. I'd like to at least send them off with clean things. She headed down the gravel driveway. You need a ride? JR called after her. Melody shot him a glare before she disappeared down the darkened path to the woods. JR leaned in the doorway as he watched the night deepen. He growled to himself. Doesn't change the fact they're a bother, he said before slamming the door behind him.